To survive, he kneels on the muddy ground, scrubbing a wealthy man's shoes. As the hardest-working employee at this golf course, the guests love him and often leave tips. But this popularity is a sin in his boss's eyes. The boss doesn't want someone who connects with the guests. He wants a worker who knows his place. So, the moment the man finishes his shift, the boss fires him without hesitation. Ironically, for 2 weeks of grueling labor, the boss hands him a measly $82. It's not enough for a month's rent, or even a few days of groceries for a family of 3, yet it buys out all his hard work and dignity. Says I overstep my boundaries with the customers. As the sole provider, he has no idea how to face his wife. After much hesitation, he tells her the truth, but she doesn't blame him. That man is a damn fool. How is he ever gonna find a better man for that job? I'll find something better. You're right, this is an opportunity in disguise. However, Jeanette's hopes soon wither. In the following days, Jerry fails to find a suitable job, but their grim financial reality showed no mercy to their plight. Because the rent remains unpaid, the landlord issues several eviction notices. Just as they hit rock bottom, the golf course calls. Because Jerry's departure caused regular customers to leave and no replacement can be found, the boss wants to rehire him. Joe immediately tells his father that his mother wants him to take the job back. While this is a desperate lifeline, it feels like salt on an old wound. Remembering the humiliation of kneeling in the mud and the sting of being fired, Jerry cannot simply crawl back because of one phone call. Despite the crushing pressure, Jerry refuses to compromise. Fueled by unwavering self-belief and a relentless dedication to his dreams, he was convinced he was destined for bigger things. When Jeanette learned that her husband had turned down the job, what washed over her wasn't anger, but a profound sense of powerlessness. They have no home of their own and no foreseeable future. Maybe I should go back to work then. I'm making contacts, Gene. Just a part-time job. She understands his frustration and hurts for their young son, but life is getting harder, and she wishes Jerry would be rational, set aside his pride, and solve their immediate crisis. Still, she doesn't force him, keeping her emotions buried deep inside. Life must go on. The family cannot just wait for the end. Jeanette dresses up and heads into town, going door to door to present her work experience. After constant rejection, she finally finds work as a swimming instructor. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough to cover the rent and living expenses. Joe also drops his summer classes to take a part-time job at a photo studio. Watching his busy wife and son, Jerry is consumed by guilt. The man who was supposed to protect his family is now an idle bystander. Even worse, as Jeanette becomes financially independent, her warmth toward him fades. The old tenderness and reliance are gone, replaced by a cold, polite distance. Jerry feels like a total failure. Soon, Jeanette starts coming home late. She no longer rides her bike. Instead, a stranger drops her off in a luxury car. Her longing for material stability and emotional fulfillment begins to change her. Eventually, she demands they sleep in separate rooms. The closed bedroom door becomes an impassable chasm between them. Jerry silently buried his frustration and confusion deep within his heart. He wants to change things, but has no idea how, sinking further into self-reproach. Then, Jerry sees an ad for forest firefighters. The pay is low, and the risk is extreme. It's a job where one might not come back, but Jerry is drawn to it because it means leaving home for a long time. He knows the danger, and he loves his family, but he just needs to escape. He wants to run away from his family's disappointed eyes, from this house of tension, and from the broken, pathetic version of himself. Jeanette couldn't understand why he could endure the humiliation, yet refused to swallow his pride when an opportunity presented itself. He could have accepted the offer to return to the course and lived a relatively stable life, yet he chose this dangerous job instead. On the day he leaves, Jerry looks at his son with immense guilt. He hopes Joe sees through his desperation, that he is leaving only to find some inner peace. He asks Joe to apologize to Jeanette for him, saying he didn't mean to hurt her, but he simply doesn't know how to handle the mess they're in. As the car disappears into the distance, the collapse of the family truly begins. Jeanette lies in bed, her eyes hollow and devoid of light. Even when Joe relays his father's apology, she remains indifferent. She can't understand how the man who promised to protect them could heartlessly abandon them in a strange place. Jerry's heartless departure completely shattered Jeanette's hopes, plunging her into deep despair and loneliness. In the long, cold days that follow, she craves warmth and understanding. She turns her gaze toward other men, seeking solace for her soul. Gradually, Jeanette becomes a different person. She dug out a dress she hadn't worn in ages from the bottom of the trunk and began to meticulously dress herself up, applying exquisite makeup and bright lipstick. Joe notices the change immediately. "We might have to move to a smaller place." "Well, have you talked to Dad about it? Would you mind that?" "That's fine. It could go on for a long time. But Dad said he'll be home soon, as soon as it snows." He assumed his mother was simply regaining her confidence for the sake of survival, but he never imagined that lurking beneath this transformation was something far more terrible. One afternoon a few days later, Joe comes home from school to find a dazzling luxury car parked right in front of his house. The shiny pink paint creates a jarring contrast against their dilapidated neighborhood. He immediately gets a sinking feeling in his stomach. Sure enough, when he pushes the door open in confusion, he finds his mother with a stranger. "Good to meet you, Joe. I recently taught Mr. Miller how to swim, and he's going to give me a job in his car dealership, isn't that right?" "Sure is." The man's forced enthusiasm and his mother's unnatural smile. Every lie hanging in the air tells Joe that their relationship is anything but simple. From that day on, Joe's world is turned upside down. He overhears his mother's intimate phone calls with the man. He is just a child, unable to stomach this blatant betrayal, yet unable to pretend he doesn't know. So, he confronts his mother directly. "Do you like Miller?" "Not very much. Things do happen around him, though. He has that feel about him." Jeanette doesn't give him a straight answer. Instead, she has him take a sick day from school. The next day, she drives Joe all the way out to the remote mountains, the direction where Jerry is working. Gradually, thick plumes of smoke from the burning mountains fill the view on both sides of the road. Jeanette drives until they reach the very edge of the forest. Here, she forces her son to listen to the sizzling roar of the wildfire and feel the despair radiating from the heat. She finally snaps, pouring out her confusion and resentment to her son. She couldn't tell if Jerry had betrayed her or if the crushing weight of life had simply caused him to lose his mind, driving him to make such a reckless decision. On the way back, Jeanette takes Joe to a bar. She wants him to understand that every choice she makes from here on out is forced by Jerry's escape, a desperate move in a hopeless situation. Back in town, she parks outside a house. It's glowing with warm light, and through the window, the exquisite interior is visible. Jeanette reveals that this house belongs to Miller, the man who visited them earlier. She desperately craves this life, the stability, the wealth. Yet, a shred of guilt remains, leaving her torn. "I feel like I need to wake up." The next day, Joe gets a call from his father. Jerry knows nothing about what's happening at home. He just asks if Joe and Jeanette are okay. Hearing his father ask about his mother, Joe panics and lies. "She went to town. How are things up there?"
It's really rough. We don't have control. Just want to improve.
Are you coming home soon?" Jerry says the fire will be out once it snows, and he'll be back then. This sparks a glimmer of hope in Joe's heart. He can't wait to tell his mother the good news. But when he arrives at the place Jeanette claimed to be working, she isn't there. He asks the staff, only to learn the brutal truth. "She works for Mr. Miller. I did." Jeanette never got a job there. The work was just a cover for her dates with Miller. What disappoints Joe even more is that his mother doesn't even try to hide it anymore. She takes him directly to Miller's house. There, Jeanette flirts openly with Miller in front of her son, pouring out her grievances and domestic troubles without holding back. Her artificial words and deliberate fawning reveal her desperate desire to throw herself into this man's arms and escape her past life. Fueled by alcohol, she dances with Miller and they make out, completely ignoring her son, who is sitting there on pins and needles. Joe wants to leave, but he can't bring himself to abandon his mother, so he silently endures the humiliation. As they leave, Miller uses the chill in the air as an excuse to drape his jacket over Jeanette, kissing her right in front of Joe. Perhaps stung by her son's gaze, or maybe hit by a sudden wave of guilt, Jeanette hurriedly grabs Joe and leaves. Back in the car, she blames the alcohol and worries about neighbors gossiping, insisting she must go back to return Miller's coat. But Jeanette is gone for a long time. Driven by curiosity, Joe goes back to check. He calls out a few times, but there is no answer. He peers through the window and sees the one scene he never wanted to witness. In that moment, he knows the home he hoped for is completely destroyed. Having tasted the sweetness of this new life, Jeanette spirals out of control. She stops hiding her affair, frequently bringing Miller home to spend the night, with zero regard for her son. Young Joe, facing such betrayal, feels both ashamed and terrified. But he is just a child, powerless to stop it, and with nowhere to run. He doesn't know how to face this version of his mother, or how to retrieve the warm home he once had, so he decides to run away. But as he waits for the bus, snowflakes begin to drift down from the sky. Snow means the fire will die out. The thought of his father returning instantly reignites a beacon of hope in his heart. Maybe his father could make everything normal again. Maybe this family could still be saved. Days dragged on and the yard was soon buried under a thick blanket of snow. Finally, his father returned. Jerry seems revitalized, back to his old self, and he's even secured a formal job. Full of hope, he excitedly plans another move, wanting to give the family a fresh start. But Jeanette has had enough of this transient life. She firmly refuses to move and decisively asks Jerry for a separation. "I've taken an apartment in town. It's a tiny place, but I can afford the rent, and there's room for Joe, if he wants to come." Although she uses being tired of a dull life as an excuse to cover her betrayal, "Can you hear you stepping out on me?" Jerry spots the guilt in her evasive eyes. Under his questioning, Jeanette finally confesses to the affair. "Who is it?" "It's Warren Miller." Even so, Jerry knows his own abandonment drove her to this. Looking at the woman who has stood by him for years, he chooses to forgive her out of his own guilt. But then he notices something is off with Joe. His son keeps avoiding eye contact. "Did your mother do something that you wouldn't like to have to tell me about?" "Where'd you see them?" "They were in the house." "In our house?" He can tolerate the betrayal, but he cannot tolerate his wife exposing their son to it with zero regard for his feelings. Compared to the images burned into Joe's mind, Jerry's own pain feels insignificant. Rage instantly blinds him. He vows to make that man pay. Jerry storms over to Miller's house, intending to burn it down. "Get out here, Dad! Dad! Oh, Dad!" But he underestimates his opponent. He is no match for Miller and gets brutally beaten. Joe witnesses his father's humiliation, then looks at his mother, who is desperate to be with Miller, only to see Miller standing next to yet another new woman. The chaotic scene plunges Joe into confusion. His young mind can't process this complex mess, and his vision of a happy family shatters completely. Torn between helplessness and pain, he finds no solution, so he just runs, trying to leave it all behind. After cooling down, Joe goes to the police station, expecting his father to be arrested for arson. But the police know nothing. Miller clearly didn't press charges. After a long while, Joe returns home, expressionless. Finding his parents waiting for him with worried faces, he asks the question he already knows the answer to. "No, I mean, what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to us?" "I don't know. I'm going to bed. I have school tomorrow." "Don't. I won't blame you if you hate me. Good night." In the end, his parents separate. Joe chooses to stay with his father, while Jeanette moves to another city, completely leaving her chaotic past behind. Time flies. One day, Joe receives a letter from his mother. She says she will come to visit him when spring arrives. Despite all the hurt, Joe still desperately looks forward to seeing her. "Can I have the car? I can pick her up after school." "Okay." On the day of her arrival, he waits at the station early. Jeanette looks much more haggard. The sharpness and wildness are gone, replaced by a sense of calm and weariness. Jerry doesn't turn her away. He busies himself preparing food. Just like that, the three of them sit down for a meal together, as if nothing had changed. Joe looks at the two people who single-handedly destroyed this home, feeling a profound sense of melancholy. Yet, his love for them hasn't changed. It just sits heavy on his heart, forcing him to mature through the pain. He knows he can't fix their relationship. The only thing he can do is seize this fleeting moment of warmth. He takes his parents to the photo studio where he works to take the only family portrait of his life. He wants this photo to freeze this momentary reunion, to seal away the beauty that time has torn to shreds. He hopes this portrait will bless his parents on their separate paths and serve as a source of warmth for him to fend off loneliness and pain in the long years ahead. Wildlife exposes the brutal reality of an ordinary life through the lens of a family falling apart. The wildness it portrays isn't about reckless adventure, but the struggle and loss of control when humanity is backed into a corner. Jerry uses escape to guard his pride, Jeanette uses indulgence to fight loneliness, and Joe is forced to grow up amidst betrayal and ruin. Their entangled fates speak volumes about the alienation in marriage, the compromises of survival, and the helplessness of the individual. The film judges no one. It simply mirrors the helplessness of reality. When dignity crashes into survival, when promises lose to hardship, there are no perfect choices, only forced trade-offs. In the end, that family portrait, tinged with regret, holds the most painful reflection on family. Love may shatter, but the shared pain and warmth will eventually become the strength that supports us as we face life head-on. This is a truth every ordinary person can resonate with.